in free world.
We're limiting this down to,
I hear that. It's because we now are on video,
Yeah.
it's less, it needs to have less detail.
Right.
Official action.
So, I'd like to call this meeting to order, and it starts out with a public hearing on Firefly Ridge.
Okay, great.
So, did we get everything done that we need to get done? Did we get an ad in the paper, and we get the,
I believe
Notice
I saw
to-
the ad in the.
okay.
Okay, so, ready?
We didn't see the ad in the paper?
We got an ad
Whoever
in
wants
the
to-
paper, we did not send
Put that on?
letters to
Oh,
the
yeah.
butters.
We did not send letters to butters.
We did not send
Where everybody
letters
can see it, I
to
guess.
butters
Right here.
for the sidewalk or the public hearing.
Oh, it's done.
So here's one.
So, can this not be?
So,
Technically,
It
it's
can't.
a violation.
Okay.
so we have a problem, Dick.
One.
And that is that, the letters to abutters did not get sent out.
Yeah.
Which is on us.
It's on us. It was a fumble at the time of a handover of chair and secretary and so forth, and,
Okay. Well, do we have to have another one then?
I think so.
Yeah, I gotta have it.
You wanna have it legal?
Yeah.
We wanna have it legal. You know,
Do you want me to go ahead and go through it tonight, or?
Does anybody out there?
Anybody interested in knowing about, Firefly Ridge? Anybody?
We'll see you the next time.
Is anybody in the audience tonight here specifically to hear about Firefly Ridge? No.
Oh,
So
okay.
Dick, we're gonna bring you back.
Okay.
So let's look at a calendar, see what we need. We always say we need 10 days.
Yeah, yeah.
We say 10, so it's.
Maybe I'll get a better card for it next time.
I'm sorry, Dick.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dick, to get you out here again.
Yeah.
If we get it in on the first, we could do a sidewalk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could do a sidewalk the weekend of the 11th.
The 11th of June?
Yeah.
I will be in Seattle, but you don't need me present for the sidewalk, right?
So,
We did sidewalk.
The
But
11th.
we have to still notice.
we did a
butters-
sidewalk,
Butters,
we've done a sidewalk.
Yeah, down a
Yeah,
sidewalk.
But we didn't
but
notice the
didn't
butters.
Didn't notice
Yeah.
the butters for the sidewalk.
So we have to do a new sidewalk too?
That's apparently where we're going with this. Now, I have a problem with that weekend. I would not be able to make the sidewalk. I didn't make the other sidewalk. As Dick knows, I know the territory.
Yeah.
Don, did you make the sidewalk on the 14th?
Do you want to make the sidewalk during the week?
You know, that would that be better for you?
I
I'm
can,
out of
I
town on 6/10, 6/9, 6/10.
I can make it any time, so if we get the ad in the paper tomorrow,
Yeah,
and it has to be tomorrow because, of the Memorial Day holiday, they said they're
Yeah.
not taking anything on the 30th.
yeah,
So we have to get it in on the 27th,
yeah,
and then it'll appear on the 1st.
yeah.
And we could have a site walk as soon as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could have a site walk on, Wednesday, the 8th.
So,
No, now the, public meeting.
It'll be the next meeting after that. Great. Matt,
We could have the public hearing on, June 9th.
okay.
so the next day,
Yep.
we've got a public hearing for the Merch Pit that night also.
Right.
So that's,
Print it for us.
Yeah, what we have to do, and I did the notice to the abutters for merch,
Okay.
and you can do it all from home now. You just go into the county assessor's site, to their GIS, graphic interface systems map, and you find the map and lot number, and there's a scale, and you can identify all the abutters.
Okay.
Then you go into the tax book, And actually, you don't even have to go into the tax book because there's a key that you hit on the abutter for more information, and it gives you their name and address. And I just copy them right out of there and plug them into a Word table, and then I send that to Robin.
And then
Are you gonna do this?
I was wondering if Dawn gonna
Yeah, I'm totally a novice at this also, so it's.
that's what Matt's telling us, so
I'll
can we send
do it if
instructions
you
You could lead me through that again,
I can,
and I'll do it,
from here?
okay.
but I need to get the actual details on how to do that.
Okay.
Okay,
Clear as
so,
mud is what's going on.
yeah, Wednesday the eighth, 9 AM, sidewalk. And
Yep.
then the planning board meeting on the Thursday, June 9th, public meeting.
Yeah,
There's no sense for me being any more on the agenda because we have to go through all that stuff.
right,
Right.
right.
So,
Right.
I'm going home.
I will put you first on the agenda.
I appreciate
But
it.
we could at least do that for you.
All right. Okay.
Sorry, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Continuation of discussion with Joe Foster.
Hi.
Do we have my apologies, I wasn't here last time. I made other arrangements before I knew I was gonna be chairing this illustrious committee. And it was something that had been put off in February, a visit down to North Carolina, but,
I scanned and sent this out to everybody.
okay.
This is
I'm still,
Okay.
and why it became Rocky Run, I have no idea.
It seemed like it was one of those odd pieces that, like, this must be left over from years gone by.
It was left over from years gone by. One of my ancestors, the first place he stayed when he came to Baldwin was in Harding's Hill, or whatever that's worth. There was a guy, maybe 20. We came in, we were in a much smaller room, down this way. And there were two people out in the audience. They were sitting maybe 4 feet apart. And as I did tonight, I went around and I said hello to everybody, and I know who everybody is. Like, who are you and why are you here?
Right.
And the guy told us who he was, and and they started talking and calmed down, and they were talking with each other, and we couldn't even hear them. He said, do you mind taking it out in the hall? And when you're done, come back in. And we got into other business, and by and by, he comes back in, and he goes and he sits down. She kind of stuck her head in. She said, everything's fine. She left. They just settled it. They talked to each other. They never met. They didn't know anything about each other. And so it's hours of operation, and with you, it's a sign. And later on in this meeting, we're going to be talking about a sign ordinance. And you're going to be the star of the show when people talk about how horrible signs are. So you're going to be getting a lot of advertising. You ever heard of Fiorello LaGuardia? He was a mayor of New York in the 30s. And he got very bad press. And he used to say to the reporters, I don't care what you say about me as long as you spell my name right.
No press is bad press.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where we are. It's like
Import.
you've got an objective, and there are people in town who have been complaining about your sign. I don't know how many. It could be we only heard it from the 3 people who all cite all their friends, but maybe it's only the 3 people that are totally against it, think it's horrible, and people involved in hate change. That's the one thing, when Jeff Sanborn left office as selectman, he said that was the one thing he really learned about Baldwin, that people involved in hate change. And we like driving down the road, and there's pine trees and there's fields, and then there's this god-awful sign, and so this is what we have to deal with. And we have to try to find, I hope you feel this too, we have to try to find some way to compromise. And I'm certainly willing to compromise, and I think a 20 square foot sign is a compromise. From no sign at all, from having a field that we remember being hayed and we've seen plowed up, and it's a field. Not very large, but it's a field. And I understand that makes you unhappy. Am I right or wrong? Are you willing to compromise? What's going on?
Well, I would say this is the first time I feel like the board has talked about compromise at all. When it comes to compromise, just going with with what you would like isn't compromise. I feel like I talked to the code enforcement officer multiple times before I put the sign up. I've got a precedent, other people in town, the signs are the same size, same orientation. So no, I don't really feel like it's compromise at this point.
I think, Joe, I think another part of what we're here to do is ensure that anything that's operating in town is doing so correctly and appropriately. And what sometimes happens is they might pick on your sign and not somebody else's sign, which doesn't feel fair. And what we've asked you to do is to submit the CUP paperwork and to make your use of your land conform with what the current regulations say. And I think you've complied with that request to this point. There's always an element of people wanting to have a right to what they want to do on their land, but they want to regulate what anybody else does on their land. And that's always something that I think the compromise I see more as a balance of the interest, where we appreciate both that you have a right to do certain things on your land if they're in compliance with what the regulations are, and other people have a right to enjoyment and to have a set of expectations about what they would like. And if people don't like certain things that are allowed under the ordinances, then they need to work towards changing the ordinances. And our role is to balance those interests.
So there's no ordinance for a sign 20 square
Right,
feet or not,
which
correct?
is why you hear Joe saying we're talking about a sign ordinance.
Which
Involving
the town
rural
has
towns.
voted on before and voted down.
Well, I think Glenn brought this up last week, because he said 30 years ago, when he got his CUP for his, repair shop business, the conditions for his CUP had the 20 square foot, sign condition in it, and the planning board has been very consistent for the past 30 years that every CUP for a business in Baldwin, has, had, a condition that says, 20 square feet, so that's,
How big is your sign right now?
It's 32 square feet.
Okay.
I'm surprised that you say you talked to the code enforcement officer about it, because he was in the selectmen's meeting talking about how horrible your sign was. I don't know how somebody's not communicating with someone.
He can probably speak for himself, I won't speak for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the 4x8 sign is 32 square feet, but it's double, so it's actually 64 square feet.
So, as we go through this, obviously we got no problem with an office. and we're going to be arguing about your sign. So what do you offer us? What are you willing to offer?
At this point, I'm willing to put up another sign that's 20 square feet.
That would be wonderful. That would be very easy on all of us. Great, thank you.
I worked through a bunch of different, directions with Wes, and I don't really see a path that gets everybody what they want, so.
Sometimes that's what happens, as you know.
Could I get a list of, probably my biggest, I'll call it concern, is that, I read the ordinances before I stuck my sign up. Can I get a list of the other conditions that would be on the CUP, because they're not written anywhere?
Okay.
We have a list of standard conditions that, go on every CUP, and we can provide that to you.
It would
And
probably
then-
be helpful, just as a town member, if we could add that, just somewhere that you could read it, so like, hey, this is the CUP process, here's the conditions to go with, because again, if I'd read it, I'd have known ahead of time, and
Yeah,
again, it
and
defeats me
then,
as like, time and money and expense, and
Yep,
put into this,
I got it,
yeah.
I got it.
we'll get that to you. Now, the 20 square feet is not on the standard condition.
My intention is to build a sign like, Anderson septic sign, which I think is what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't recall the sign,
I
especially,
passed
which
it
is
twice
good.
today. I know exactly that sign.
Okay,
And it's instead of the triangular two sides, it's a one side,
great.
side, and it's probably exactly 20 square feet.
That would be my
But
guess.
it says the name of the business, and it's very clear, and the lettering is big, enough to read from the road.
So, we have to have a site walk, and then a public hearing, and,
And we can approve the CUP conditions.
yep,
I think both of those were tentatively scheduled for the last meeting, right?
No. Well, we talked about when they could be, but we
So we have to
put
put
off
that in the paper.
putting them into place until we could have this meeting and have, more people here. Yeah, one of the issues with the last meeting, we didn't know it, but we thought we had a quorum because Glenn sat in, but unfortunately his term expired in, I think, July of 2021, so,
We didn't have
yeah,
that.
so it was just me and Don, so we didn't really have a quorum, but,
Were you able to schedule the site visit?
no, we have to do that now.
I'm talking about the other one that was scheduled the same night.
Was that, I think we just rescheduled Firefly.
No,
right?
it was the pit.
It was
Oh, the
merged,
pit.
Yeah,
Lori and Scott merged.
that, yeah.
Yeah, we can
What
make
date?
a statement and put it in the minutes, not a problem. The site walk is at 10 a.m. on June 4th for them,
For March or for Joel?
for merch.
Okay.
And the public hearing,
And that ad went in,
Okay,
and the butter letters went out,
they did,
yeah.
okay.
and then the public hearing for the merches is on the 9th,
That's correct.
the same night as Firefly Ridge.
Okay,
So we already have two lined up on that night. I don't,
We have enough time to notice it.
yes, Matt says we do.
What?
we do if we place the ad tomorrow.
For the,
Merchants Pit,
Oh,
as
yeah,
we're not
for
going in.
No, for Joel,
For Joel, so do you think we can do 3 in a row that night?
if we don't have any other business.
If you, want an ad in the paper for next week, you have to get in by noon tomorrow.
Okay.
Our man Matt is gonna do it.
Good.
I hear you saying you'd like to move as quickly as possible. Is that
Yeah.
accurate? Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
So, Do we want to schedule a site walk for Joel?
So if we do a site walk on the 8th for Firefly Ridge, is there a way to do Joel immediately after on the same day so that I can like schedule?
Sounds good.
And that way we're all in line? Is that okay with you, Joel?
On the 9th?
On the 8th?
8th, yes.
And then we can have his public hearing on the 9th as well, and then we're full for that night.
Okay. Should we say 10 or 10:30?
I think we should say 10:30.
Okay, 10:30.
Joel, is that doable for you?
Yeah.
And then your public hearing will be the same night of the 9th.
His public hearing is when?
Would
Thursday
be
night?
also the 9th. So we have those 3 public hearings and nothing else that night.
So usually what we do,
Is no more than 2, right?
usually I've never had it where we've done more than one.
Okay.
And usually what we do is we consider the conditional use permit right after. But we also don't go much beyond 9.
Right, we can't go beyond 9.
So,
So we could at least have the public hearing, although we might have to continue for purposes of the
right, we
petition.
might not get to the point where we vote on
Agreed, that's
the
right.
approval of the CUP.
Do you
Right.
understand that? Okay.
So what we might do is look and see which are the simplest ones. Joel's now will be the
You already
simplest
told
one.
him you were gonna put him first, so you
Right,
keep him
okay.
first.
Everybody's going first. Everybody's equal, you know that. Okay. That would be interesting.
I'm gonna try to join remotely.
Where are you gonna be?
Seattle.
You have my condolences.
I'm actually flying that day, so I'll check the flight time, but if I'm on ground, I'll join remotely.
Okay.
I don't wanna miss 3 public hearings, but I can't change my travel plans now.
I get it. I get it.
We can, do that via live phone. if you
Yeah,
want to.
I would love that. Thank you. I'm gonna confirm my time and I'll get in touch with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
We okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
You are,
Kyle Barrington.
you're up next.
I am.
Yeah. Hi, Kyle.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
We've never met. I'm Joe Pierce.
Yeah.
So, you want a conditional use permit for a commercial wood processing and sales on Route 113?
I don't know who asked for that, but I didn't.
Okay.
So I guess enlighten me on, what's going on.
The conversations I've had with mostly Kyle's father, Tony, and we've had it here, was that they've stockpiled a pile of logs that need shipping. And so our concern from the past couple of meetings was, when's the shipping gonna happen and how much noise? And is this once a year or continuous? You know, we need to find out exactly what the activity is. Does it need a CUP, or, you know, do they say we can do it in one day between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock and it's only once a year, you know? Doesn't need a CUP. So that's where it is, and it's up to you.
So I guess the thing from our point of view is, a complaint came in. At this point, I don't know who it was. This is my first meeting as chair, so it didn't come to my attention when the complaint came in.
Yeah.
But a complaint came in, hey, Kyle Farrington's running some sort of a logging operation out of, you know, Mac Brunell's old garage. What's going on?
Yeah.
And so that's why you're here. And if you want the protection of a conditional use permit, rather than looking at it as a penalty,
Right.
it's a protection. Because if you are running a business there, whether it's, you know, bringing logs in and, you know, during mud season and then shipping them out when the ground dries up or whatever, and somebody complains and then a different, you know, condition, CEO comes along and gives you a cease work order right when you gotta ship your logs, you say, look, I got a conditional use permit, I can do this, get out of here.
Yeah.
So-
There's no noise ordinance involved?
There's no what?
There's no noise ordinance, is there a noise?
No,
ordinance?
there's no noise.
There isn't one, there's not 7 o'clock one?
No,
No?
we don't have a noise ordinance in Baldwin. We don't even have anything about logging, you know, loggers can go 24 hours a day in Baldwin.
Huh. The joys involved in that.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've had people complain about loggers starting on my land at 5 in the morning and 4 in the morning and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you would know the deal, so what it is just some pine pulp that
Yep.
wasn't saleable. So once a year, I chipped it last year,
Yep.
3 loads, 4 loads, 3 hours, once a year. I mean, it seems like it's turned into a big deal and that, so.
I get it, but if those 3 loads, if you fire it up at 3 in the afternoon and I was taking my afternoon nap, I'd be pissed off.
Yeah, at least you can catch up on it the next day then.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure what this conditional use permit, because I'm not interested in getting in some big deal with the town over a couple hours a year on a piece of land that I already paid for, you know, for somebody else to tell me that I can't put a few loads of pine pulp on it.
Yeah, I guess, you know, I don't know who complained, I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah,
It wasn't a complaint, I reported that there was a logging activity going on,
Oh, okay,
and then we discussed it from there.
okay. So, if the code enforcement officer is not telling you you need a conditional use permit,
well, so,
Have
I
a
guess
good evening.
then when you came and told me, you're like, oh, I get it, then why didn't you just tell me you wanted a conditional use permit right then? It would've been pretty simple, instead of stopping by 4 times and beating around the bush. If you wanted a conditional use permit, you should have said that's all we needed.
You or your father, Tony, went for a CUP about 3 or 4 years ago.
Tony doesn't own the piece of property.
No, it's not.
I owns the
Yeah.
piece of property.
Okay,
So the only discussion to be done on the piece of property
That's right.
is with me.
That's right.
Yeah. So what would you like to, are you that concerned about it? Like, what do you feel that needs to be done there? You drive by it, you see what's going on, it's pretty easy going. I mean, what are you thinking that you feel that needs to be done with it from what you see, I guess?
When I first saw it, I just reported to the planning board, put in their laps for them to evaluate and how far should we go.
Okay,
That hasn't happened, but it's beginning to happen now.
okay.
My attitude, and what I had spoke with your father, is that you don't plan to do chipping year round, maybe
No,
1 day, 2 days, and it's over and done with once a year.
correct.
And the reason why the logs are there is because you couldn't handle them in the middle of winter, and your purchaser, where they get delivered, couldn't receive them, they didn't have the space.
Yes.
That's why you store the logs there. So,
And some of it is also, as I told you, firewood pile. I mean, between my dad's house and my own house, we burn, you know, almost 20 cords a year. So some of that, 2 or 3 of those loads of wood there are firewood that's gonna be
Yeah.
used for our own personal use.
and we all, okay.
Like, I'm not processing wood out of there. I mean, like I said, about, you know, 3-4 hours a year, you know, on the high side would be a chipper room.
My opinion in evaluating what's going on is your land, and you have to store it somewhere.
Right.
So what better place is there than on your land? You need to chip it, if there's a word of honor that you can keep it between 10 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon, 1 day or 2 days, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Now, it's up
I
to the
mean,
planning
10,
board,
that's
if
a
they're
little
happy.
less, a little late, and for the working guy, I mean, I would say more like 8 and 4. I think that'd be a little more reasonable. I mean, those are business hours for most of anyone, I would think.
That's correct.
And I'm willing to do a permit, I don't know what the cost is or whatever, but I just want this to be done with, because it's a pain in the butt.
Conditional use
For
permit.
kind of a small deal.
The conditional use permit costs $150, and it'll involve probably at least 3 visits here.
Okay. So where do we stand then? I mean, what's you guys' thought?
That's you, that's not us.
okay? Let's see how it goes this year, this season, chipping, and, if the performance is fun, we'll live with it. If it's something else, we'll initiate a CUP for next time.
Okay, and I'm cool with that, because I'm
Okay.
respectful of neighbors, I wouldn't go in there at 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning and start banging and climbing around. I mean, I feel like I got pretty good neighbors.
Your father said to me that the fellow who runs the chipper is getting on in age and he doesn't start at 6 in the morning. Later, so,
Yeah, no, so.
that's in your favor.
I would be happy to say, like, I'll, you know, verbally make an agreement that between, 8 and 4, nothing after or before,
Okay?
and we can give that a try if you want.
I'll see you later and we'll put it down on paper.
Alright,
Fine.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
alright, thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you guys, have a good night.
Thank you, Tom.
Melissa, you're next.
Hi.
So, you want a conditional use permit for a kennel on Senator Black Road. And what we do is we go with the book. We look at the book, and we look at your documents, and we kind of figure out what the story is.
Okay. Is this a dog kennel? It's for a breeding kennel.
So what I was curious about, first of all, we established that you're in the rural district,
Yes.
On Senator Black Road, and you want a kennel. There's two places to look at kennels in here. One is under definitions. And you're looking at a breeding kennel.
Correct.
So you have to get a license from the Department of Agriculture, Food and Rural Resources.
I do, and that comes after I get approved by the county.
Yep. Great. How much land do you own?
Not very much, under 2 acres.
Okay, so that's where we maybe have a problem.
Yes.
Because when I look at the rural districts, where is rural district here? Is 6.3. Our pagination may be different, but it's 6.3 in the book, and so when we get to the minimum lot area acres is 2 acres. So then what I look for, all the things that are listed here that you can do in the rural district, you gotta have 2 acres. So I look under non-conforming lots.
Yeah.
A single lot of record which at the effective date, adoption or amendment of this ordinance does not meet the lot area per dwelling unit, lot coverage, frontage requirements of the district in which it's located. It's allowed solely because it was in lawful existence at the time of this ordinance, where subsequent amendments took effect. So it's a non-conforming lot. Okay, what can we do on a non-conforming lot?
Where did it say that it was something in the rural district has to have 6 acres?
2 acres. 2 acres.
2 acres.
And it says that 6.3, I was, okay, I'm getting hard because I've already been flipping through this book, doing my homework before I came in tonight, Melissa. So 6.3 is rural district. And then you keep going, and 6.3E are general performance standards.
preliminary plans, right?
But 6.3E is general performance standards of Article 9, the following standards shall apply. Minimum lot area, 2 acres,
Yeah,
okay?
okay.
So, am I going too fast, because I do that sometimes?
I'm with you, minimum is 2 acres.
I'm preparing for our 3, we're not just having a doubleheader with Joel, we're having 3. I'm trying to get up to speed here,
You're doing awesome.
thanks. Okay, so then Article 5 is non-conformance.
Yeah, I think 5.2.
Speak up,
5.2, I think, is the article that you're after in there.
yeah?
I believe so, because I read through it and I've done some notes.
You're gonna have to shout at me. because I
Article
have to-
5,
Look at
Article
5.2.
5.2, I believe that's the one you're after.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
How many acres does she have?
She has
You said
less
it's
than
less
2.
than 2, do you know what,
Right.
about
It doesn't-
what it is? It doesn't matter if it's less than 2, I'm just wondering. It doesn't give it doesn't give acreage in your deed, but we can figure it out on this map maybe.
So what I get down to on
Yep.
Article 5, 5.2C, only permitted uses will be allowed on non-conforming lots.
Yep.
So then you go to the rural district and you find out what permitted uses are. And kennels are allowed with conditional use permits only, which means that they're not allowed on a non-conforming lot in the rural district.
I can do it.
That's how I read this. Wes,
There is somewhere in the ordinance, is a lot is non-conforming, undersized, when you deal with a structure, if you meet the setbacks, it's buildable, you can do it.
buildable, she built her house,
Yep.
The house is better.
but she can't have a kennel there, because that's specifically not permitted for her to have a kennel on a,
Okay, so you're saying the activity, but not the fence to perform the,
Correct. It's
she can have a fence, she can have the building she lives in, which she built on a non-conforming lot.
okay, so you're ruling it's the activity that you're ruling on, okay.
Specific in the ordinance, it says so. And I'm really sorry. I mean, all I can do is look and see what it says here, and we can't. If you can buy enough land to make it 2 acres, that's the only thing I can say. And how much land more, how much under 2 acres
I
are you?
don't know. I need to look that up.
When you said your map 11 lot 10,
Yes. And I own that little triangle piece in front too.
okay,
That's part of mine.
Wait, is it contiguous? Does it touch?
yes,
So is it 2 pieces of land?
I don't know, I'm trying to find 10, lot 10. I've got 9, 11, and 12, where's 10?
10 is, I should have highlighted it. It is,
I've got 9, 10, 8, 11, it's gonna be one of these little ones. Oh, 10,
Yep,
okay, and that little triangle is yours.
Yep, correct.
Right here. She owns this. She owns this, so the acreage is not listed on the lot. Yeah.
Okay. Oof, yeah,
But
what's,
she owns the little triangle in front.
and you own the little acreage there?
Yeah.
So is your deed in here?
Yes,
Yes.
but the deed doesn't give the square feet, or, we can figure it out.
Okay, who can figure out faster than I can on this phone.
How many square feet is it?
So it doesn't, it doesn't tell us that.
I wanna go into the town website, baldwinmaine.org,
Yeah,
and they will be able to, it should say.
go to Maine, BaldwinMaine.org,
baldwinmaine.org, and then under assessors,
okay. Oh, my word open. BaldwinMaine.com.
get the book.
Thank
Bob's
you.
at the
I
rescue.
knew Bob was gonna save us on this one. Baldwin, I wanna know how to do it though.
Org.
What are you touching?
We're trying to get her total acreage.
How big are the acres?
No.
Her total acreage owned.
What's
Oh.
the map and lot number?
It's 11, map 11, lot 10, but she owns a little triangle in the front of that as well that doesn't have a separate number.
Then that might make it so she's got 2 acres, I don't know.
That's what we need to figure
Well,
out.
I know when I bought the house, it was under 2 acres, but
Even
But
with
you
the little
own
triangle.
another lot also.
yeah,
think
I
together.
don't understand what that is though. And Wes and I kind of looked at it, and I own, so it shows on the deed, it has all these,
Yep.
how to find the property, but the
Yep.
iron
Map
posts.
11.
So my iron posts go way over to my neighbor, Melinda Big, her mailbox.
So what's
So that's my land, and it cuts back.
Map
So what
11.
it looks like on that map is that I own that little piece right there too, because that's what it says on this
So,
deed.
What is that?
do you have a book that gives it by her name, because she's not really sure how much
Yeah, well,
land
it's
she
here,
owns, Bob.
but, this says .4 acres.
And that's what Joel just found.
And,
She said it's lot 10, but it also this little triangle piece that's right in front of it.
when did you buy that?
2012, Melissa, did you buy that?
Yep, right on there. Sounds about right, 2013, 2012. Yeah, December 6th, 2012.
Well, it says half, it's .4 acres.
So we're well below 2.
Yeah, well, below two.
Yeah.
I would say, if we were close to 2 acres and someone come out and run a string around it and do a survey, he might bring you up to it, but you're well off.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I've been breeding my dog anyway for about 5 years now.
Wait,
No issue whatsoever, so. No, I know.
The state says you're allowed 1 litter a year.
Yep.
Without a permit, yeah.
And then map 11, which is right there.
I'll do anything to get little girls to wave at me.
So that's,
Wow, I love watching kids.
speaking of kids, Texas,
Oh, yeah, I got one. No.
so on a non-conforming lot, we follow permitted uses.
Yep.
And a kennel is not a permitted use on a non-conforming lot.
Right,
But if she had 2 acres, she can get a CUP.
yes.
Okay.
What's that?
And
Conditional use permit, and then you could have basically the permit that says you can have a kennel.
Yeah, I think that I already filled out something.
That's what you applied for, and what you hear, that's the documentation you submitted to us was for a conditional use permit. But we can only entertain a conditional use permit if the property is conforming. And because yours is not conforming, we can't entertain a conditional use permit. Only the rules of approved uses on a non-conforming lot. So conditional use permit is to what you can do on a conforming lot.
Now, is this, like an ordinance of Baldwin or the state?
This is a Baldwin.
Okay, so I could easily get
But-
that changed if I went and got signed.
well, no, you couldn't.
Well, I
easily
wouldn't say you
change.
could get it easily changed, but you can attempt to change it.
I'll say this is a Baldwin ordinance, but it's a model ordinance from the state.
Okay.
2 acres is pretty common throughout the state.
So what about,
For having a kennel.
For being in conformance, for the difference between a conforming lot and a non-conforming lot.
I mean, the only thing that I would want to be changed on there is the kennel part.
Well, sure, go for it,
She's
get
asking-
25 signatures
Yeah.
and go for it.
if you could
Then what
petition,
happens after the 25?
So you write up what you want changed.
Mhm.
I would advise you to bring it in to us to look at it.
beforehand,
And you write up, a petition to the selectmen asking for this to appear on the warrant at the next town meeting, whether regular or special
Special.
town meeting. And then you get 25 signatures, so get 30, 35.
Yeah.
And you bring it in and you see Bob or one of his two selectmen friends, and they put it on the warrant for the next town meeting.
Joe, is her petition changed to add a kennel to a non-conforming approved use? Because the
yeah.
2 acre is a lot harder
Right,
to adjust. So what
Right.
you're actually looking to change is that a kennel be added to the list of approved uses for, right?
yeah,
Allowed uses on non-conforming lots. That's what you're going for. Because you'd have much difficulty having people involved and agree to just the 2 acre. So right now, there's a list of what can be done on a non-conforming lot, and it's these uses. And you're asking the town to entertain whether a kennel can be added to that list of these specific uses for lots less than 2 acres. Right, Joe?
if you wanna stop by the house, I'd be, happy to write it with you.
Joe Street is called a pier point.
Yeah.
Father Baldwin.
So what do I have to include in, when I write
Warrant.
something up? Do I have to
Do we have a
include-
sample? She said.
What do I have to include in like the write-up?
So what you're doing, I just can't remember the verbiage. What is the formal first line of her petition, Bob?
I don't know, but, you're gonna help her write it.
Yeah,
I heard you say that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you're not gonna answer any of my questions anymore.
What
No.
we'll do is look for
No,
a
what I think
sample
is you
that's
should be
the
very
means
plain
that
about what it is you want.
that you
Yeah.
can refer
I
to
petition
as
that we
template.
change the land use ordinance so that we can, whatever,
Yep,
and then you get 25 signatures on paper.
And then everybody votes.
yep, and then it comes up, and that way
The
you've
whole
got
town of Baldwin
25
gets
people
to
on
vote.
your side already.
So, at the town meeting
Whoever
day.
shows up.
Yep.
Yep,
Okay.
the last regular town meeting, there were 30 people
I
there?
was gonna say it's like 40.
Yeah.
So if you've got 35 people signing your petition, you'll want them to show up and vote.
And I have a lot of relatives.
Yeah,
That live in Baldwin?
So, yeah.
Okay.
but,
We are glad your family's in Baldwin.
Yeah.
so, stop in on me, really.
Okay. And I have your number. I can call.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And then how many people, like, have to show up and vote? Is there a certain amount?
What's the quorum for town meeting, is it 11? For
Yeah,
some reason I'm
you'll
thinking
have,
it's 11.
you'll have that many
There
people
is a,
just because
it's
they
8
show up.
or 11
And
or
then it will be
something like
running the
that.
shopping
There
yard
is a
for
quorum.
people who don't want to change.
Okay, oh, it's
Most
not,
of the time,
it's not that important, Bob.
Well, it might be sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it might be.
What might
it's
be?
usually noise.
Quorum, what's,
Yeah.
you were just asking what's the
How
quorum
many
for a
people,
town meeting?
yeah.
Like, so it's 8 or 11, and I can't remember
Okay.
which.
All right.
No, no. We confused you.
But if you don't come with your 20 relatives, you
Now,
start
it's
farm.
more like 11, that's an odd number, so you can't have a tie.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know what it is. I know,
don't either.
one year I got a call to come down to make a quorum.
So, and I can get anybody who lives in Baldwin to
They
sign?
have to live in Baldwin.
Registered voters.
Registered voters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's helpful for you to get a sense of what your immediate abutting neighbors would think about it. Because if you're gonna have opposition, it's typically coming from those who would be affected.
Like I said, I've been doing this for a while now, without any issues.
But
whatsoever.
in terms of people signing off or in agreement, it's good.
Yep, to kind of ask them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I spoke with them, about doing it anyway, and nobody has any huge issues.
And nobody has made any complaints to you. And
No.
nobody complains about noise, which is typically the thing people
There's
complain
no,
about.
actually, my neighbor's dog barks more than mine do. So there's no noise issues, there's no.
Yep, okay.
That's the other way.
What did I do?
David told me once that if there's not a quorum, it doesn't technically count as a meeting and you don't have to do minutes.
I actually believe that's correct, but it doesn't mean we can't do minutes if we've kept them.
Yeah, okay.
But I believe that's accurate, but we have minutes, so we can still volunteer.
Do we have minutes?
them.
We'll get this.
Okay, we will get minutes.
Okay,
So you-
separate issue.
You did,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Did you have a copy? Do you have a copy with you?
You wanna take to the people what you're proposing, and you want them to see that and be signing off. You can't say, wait, can I have a channel? You wanna show them exactly in
Yeah.
writing what the
Right,
warrant
right,
article you're
right.
gonna be proposing.
Yeah.
And
But I
then,
also have paper copies here.
yeah,
So we
and
can-
then
Yes, I
what
did,
you
that's
do
right,
is
I saw
say,
it.
this is what I'm trying to do. You wanna show people in
So,
advance
did
what
you
you're
see it?
requesting
I did.
formally.
Okay.
That's what you want them signing
So the
off on.
motion will be in order.
You want to-
You can be talking.
I actually saw the minutes and I corrected, his spell check
Right,
for
those
Gulfstream
and,
and Gulfstream, so.
Not the first time.
Yes, Don Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Don.
So I have read them, and I wasn't there, so they look pretty good.
No, that's the problem. I wasn't there. I can't
So
vote
Matt,
on.
you have to make a motion.
I make a motion that we, approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay,
And all those in favor? All right, the minutes are approved.
okay. Are you're gonna work with Joe on drafting your petition. You will then share that petition with your neighboring community, get the approved number of signatures, and then see the selectmen, correct?
Yeah,
Who's the fourth one?
Bob is one.
They
and-
meet
and-
every
and
Tuesday night.
Every Tuesday, the same room.
at 6 o'clock. they meet.
2 are meetings, official business meetings, and 2 are still workshops, right, Bob?
But they hear
next week.
petitions from
Every day?
populace every.
So
right,
every day,
every
Okay,
time.
signatures, I bring that
To a Tuesday night meeting at 6,
every Tuesday.
every Tuesday at 6.
Okay.
And Matt and I attend all those meetings, so somebody be there. Right, Matt?
If ever short. That's a Pennsylvania Dutch.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, sure.
So, we have some housekeeping.
Okay. We
We-
don't have enough planning board members.
Right, we don't have enough planning board members.
Okay,
I've started to do a search for planning board members, and,
are you interested in being on the planning board? I'm looking for
What are the
other,
qualifications? I might be.
you have to be a resident of Baldwin, and you have to care about our community and work to make things, peace in the town,
Mhm.
work together, right, Joe?
yes, absolutely.
You have to solve problems, because we're not here to obstruct, or to demand, or to put edicts. We're here to work through issues and try to keep people as happy functioning neighbors, and that's sometimes very difficult, and sometimes not difficult at all. Right, Joe?
Exactly. You've done your homework.
I try.
If
but-
I can sit on something like this, I'm very much one of those people who thinks I ought to be able to do what I want to on my own land, but I understand that I can't. Because I
Because
share
we live in
things,
a community,
I share things with other people.
that's right.
Oh, sorry.
And I think what's
That's my
important is
own
that
style.
the town, and it's public service, I mean, we don't get paid to do
Have
these
time
roles.
consuming.
If we meet twice a month, the second and fourth Thursdays, which is less time consuming than the selectmen, but some of our planning board, the two center gentlemen there, are very vested, and some of us barely hang on.
Yeah.
I think the key is really that the boards in this town, all the municipal boards, represent a fair representation of the town as the town shifts and grows, and I feel like that's where we stay connected with our community members and bring in fresh perspectives, but still with a deep appreciation for the roots in this town. There are people who've lived here for multiple generations. That's sacred, and we know that, and we appreciate it, and we pay homage to that, and at the same time, we work with the new families who've chosen to be part of the community, and the vibrance and the spirit that that brings. So I think the more diverse this board is, the better we serve our town. Joe?
Yeah, so, the selectmen are the people who appoint members of the planning board.
And you have to apply.
You have to apply, and, you know, maybe when you go in to see them for
Maybe I'll do that.
maybe
How long have you been on the planning board?
A year, about 1 year.
What's that?
How long have I been on the planning board? About 1 year?
I don't know.
About
Whatever.
1 year.
She's been on for
I used to come to
30, 40 years.
meetings. And that's, it's like, ooh, you come to meetings, you're on the board. So about a year, and I think I would like to be a lot more involved, but I have a very,
She puts food on the table too, you know?
Yeah.
One of
so
those things.
that kind of restricts me, but I think it's really important that our town public servants represent our community.
Yeah.
So, the next thing is that I ran across the bylaws, and I realized I'm probably the last person with a copy of the planning board bylaws.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Matt, did I give you a copy at some point? Probably, yeah. Yep, so, I intend to come in and see Robin and get you guys all emailed copies
Thank
of
you.
our bylaws.
Okay.
They're interesting. Amazingly enough, they're very, very interesting. Now, two ordinances, I don't know if we're involved in the disorderly house ordinance. We have a problem, down on Pigeon Brook Road, but there's also a problem, there are problems in other roads in town because the place to have a meth lab is out in the woods, or at least figuratively out in the woods, where there are fewer people around, and there's nothing or very little the town can do about it. So we've heard complaints, the selectmen heard complaints, and our ordinance writer here, Matt Fricker, is.
Well, I volunteered to work with Bob to, research a disruptive or disorderly property ordinance. I know Bob was searching some, resources, and I reached out to, Lee J. Feldman from the, Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission. And, Lee J. provided us with a draft from the Director of Planning in Wyndham, because Wyndham was having some problems with boisterous houses and noise and, you know, repeated. And it was actually, surprisingly, in Wyndham, it was the police force in Wyndham that came to the town and said that we want to work with you to develop a disorderly property ordinance. So we got a copy of that, so we are making progress on this. Joe has been through it and provided some comments. I have been through it and provided some comments. And now we need to keep iterating on it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily the one to use as a model. there's,
Right.
but most of them, towns that have police forces, they're all about the same. When you get down to it, there's a little more process in terms of how the police report things, and, you know, what's 3 times a month, and, you know, how, is that the police shows up, or somebody complains, you know, so they're all got different flavors of how you measure what becomes disorderly. Some of them don't mention, drug problems, some do, some just talk about noise and, music and fighting or something like that, but,
Yeah.
I've got 3 or 4 of them at home already printed out and looked at, and, I guess, Matt, if you and I can find some time to just sit down together.
That would be great.
And just,
That would be great, and take the best of all of them, because, you know, one thing that Joe pointed out, you know, a perfect example with Kyle Farrington here earlier tonight is that when you have excessive, loud, or unnecessary noises audible beyond the property line, you can make everybody that has any kind of a lumber, sawmill, or wood cutting business run afoul of this. So we probably want to make some changes in the applicability of this to focus more on the drug problem that we have. At some point, we're probably going to need to coordinate with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, because we don't have our own police force to see, you know, who's gonna make these visits and do the write-ups. And then, I think one of the most important sections, at least of this one, is enforcement. And this is where, you know, it said, the police chief, with the approval of the town manager, is authorized to institute or cause to be instituted any and all actions and proceedings, either legal or equitable, that may be necessary or appropriate to enforce the provisions of this article and to seek the abatement and elimination of the disorderly property public nuisance. And I said, okay, what does that really mean? You know, what teeth are in that? Are you enabled to start repossession of the house? What can you really do?
It's in the ordinance, I'm sure it's in the ordinance, and there's fines, I think is what that one says.
Yeah, the fines are in there, and they're pretty clear, but going beyond the fines, you know, is not clear here. So I think maybe some of the other ordinances that you have,
I think they're pretty much all fines.
yeah.
And I don't think in any of them that they say, burn the house down, or kick the people out, or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, so, it's not gonna be a perfect answer, I don't think. It's
Yeah.
going to be,
$500 a day mounts up.
it does.
$500 a day.
Yeah, it mounts up, and the thing though, it also is, going to be a question of, when you go issue a citation, and then usually you're gonna have to take them to court, because that's our, just about our only way that we can enforce anything here is take somebody to court.
Right.
And, run out.
So I see 2 important coordination efforts, and one is with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, and also the town lawyer, or at least MMA legal, to you know, to make sure we're really clear on what enforcement capabilities we have.
Right.
Now, one thing they do say in here, Bob, in the Wyndham one, is that the person shall also be liable for all reasonable expenses incurred by the town in the enforcement of this article, including but not limited to staff time, attorney's fees, and costs. And all civil penalties shall inure to the benefit of the town of, you know, so-and-so. So,
Doesn't always work out that way, does it?
I'll say, if you can't actually collect, then you still get stuck with the bill.
Yeah.
I always struggle with something like this. So you're dealing with a criminal who's doing a criminal activity, you find him. How are you gonna try finding out? He packs the bags and moves
Well,
out,
that's
he
the
disappears.
attachment. I mean, you can
Well,
get a
we've achieved
judgment.
our ends if he does.
Well, true, but you can, if there is a levied fine, you can seek judgment, you can attach a lien against the house, and when the house sells, you get paid back.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I'll be glad to meet you in here, Bob, and we'll, scour through some things and, you know, start compiling a draft that we can, you know, do our best to help, Peter and the rest of the folks on, Pigeon Brook and whatever other locations there are. There are supposed to be numerous in, Baldwin that are engaged in, methamphetamine, heroin, and fentanyl, activity. Yeah.
So, the next thing that Matt has been involved with is looking for a sign ordinance. And you were coming up with a sign ordinance?
Yeah, and, that was, as a result of what we've been going through with Joel, and, you know, he brought up the issue of, precedents, you know, with the Estes, pit, and you mentioned the sign that, Dale Cressy has, and things like that, and, you know, it's a situation where, we've been incorporating this condition in the CUP conditions, for 30 years, and, you know, it's just not the best way to do things, so, you know, I again asked Lee J for help, and he gave us a draft to start working on, and, you know, so we're gonna continue working on it, but, you know, there were some good things in there, because, you know, it really clarified signs not requiring a permit, you know, real estate, signs for the sale and lease of, property, informational signs for public, civic, charitable, or religious institutions, memorial signs or tablets, historical markers, official traffic control signs, and one I like that I think will keep us out of trouble is that it doesn't include, political, signs, and,
No matter how big they are.
yeah, I mean, I don't wanna,
Amendment rights.
yeah, that's not something we wanna, dig into, and anyway, so this is something else that we'll, iterate on and work on the, and try and get it to a point where we can, you know, all these things have to come to a, town meeting and be voted on, but, it's an effort to, have it, incorporated into the land use ordinance, so, it's fairer to everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see how that,
Thank you for
develops.
working on
Yeah. You're welcome.
Well, while we're talking ordinances, we need to deal with tiny homes, LD 1530.
Yep.
And now we have to deal with, LD 2003, the affordable homes, in which about 2/3 of that law deals with financing, where to get the financing, and the state is providing money should be given to towns to hire.
And they've clarified the minimum square footage for these tiny homes is 400 square feet, but it says in there that the maximum size of the tiny homes or these, accessory dwelling units is up to the town. So that's something that, we can.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen they've written that the footprint of the tiny home can't be more than 400 feet. And the footprint would be heated living space, not sheds, garages, so on and so forth. Now, to be a roadable tiny home, it can't be any higher than 13 feet, so they do have little crawl-in lofts there. But there's nothing keeping a tiny home with 390 square feet footprint, put a second floor on it. And I've been horsing around with thoughts of, okay, so you have a second floor, but don't exceed 599 square feet, because 600 square feet makes it a primary house here in Baldwin. Something like that.
Well, that'll all have to be addressed,
Yeah.
Yep.
We're also addressing the comprehensive plan, but motion to adjourn would be in order.
Yeah.
All those, Wes, is that-
At Tuesday's meeting, Matt brought up, the subject about, People's Perch.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
So, not dragging my feet, I wrote up a letter here, a violation letter. And I'm gonna give you all a copy so you can read it and digest it, and, Bob has read it, and he changed one word and one punctuation.
So this isn't our business.
Yeah.
You can hand it out, I don't care, but I just wanna be clear
He's keeping us informed.
that,
I'm communicating so there's no surprises.
that's fine, thank you.
Thank you, Len.
It talks about their violation,
Yeah,
it also talks about, would you come to the meeting on June 9th, and
I gotta say
It
that.
now can't be
We have
June
had
9th, we're
enough
full.
surprises from you.
June 9th is full though now, Wes. We have 3 public hearings on June 9th, no more business on June 9th.
Thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
this, and the objective is not really to rain on People's Purchase parade, but it is
Thank you.
to look out for the town's liability.
yeah,
That-
that's somewhere down there.
That is the issue there.
Okay.
If they are doing activities that are not permitted within the land use ordinance, and something happens to somebody and they don't have adequate liability insurance, somebody can decide to sue the, town, and People's Perch could actually say the town was negligent for not informing them that they were, so that's why what you've done here is so important.
Just say the smart lawyer will call the money trail, the town has money.
I think I disagree with you about the town being at all liable for what goes on over there.
Well, I got that from DJ, so.
BJ
Well-
said the town
well-
is liable?
The town can be liable.
A town can be liable in certain conditions, but here's the thing, even when you win, you lose, because to
Yeah.
defend yourself in a lawsuit costs as much as if you lose the lawsuit, so it's a lose-lose for the town.
Exactly.
That's why I'm here.
Yep.
But my biggest fear is, we don't get sued. This I know. Thank you, Wes. Thank you.
Oh, God. Okay, so this is number 4 item on the agenda.
No, I just told Wes that it can't be June 9th, he needs to update that.
Can you do that, Wes?
What,
Change the date from June
Yeah.
9?
To the next
the
one.
23rd?
Yes,
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
we can't entertain anything on June 9th.
Hearing that we have 3 things on the agenda over into the 9th,
Yeah, we
they
have
can wait.
3 public hearings,
Yeah,
I would make it the next one in the room.
correct, the 23rd.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I don't think
9 plus 14 makes 23.
Oh, Lord.
We have a motion on the floor,
I second that motion.
and so,
All in favor?
all those in favor of adjourning? Any opposed?
Does anyone else need us?
We're adjourned.
Did you?
Yeah, I had a question, but it was almost answered by the question she asked.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
was looking
We're not adjourned yet, folks, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, we're adjourned.
Oh, we're
Just
adjourned, we're
informally.
talking, okay.
to,
find out the process on, updating an ordinance.
Okay,
And in my case, it's campers that are, coming onto a residential property multiple years in a row. I've talked with Wes quite a bit. He has followed the processes, and done what he can do.
what can be done?
In this situation, this is year 3 with a different camper on the same property.
Okay,
And these camper dwellers are, increasing in the noise. It could be that they're increasing in the police activity. So I was wondering about the process of getting that updated. You know, my understanding is that a camper should be placed on a property if someone is doing home renovations, building a home. You know, that might have been the purpose of the ordinance, not as a possible source of income every year, or...
Are they renting out the camper?
That's
That I don't
what
know.
was the question, yeah.
That I don't know.
Actually, there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, that has stuff, that sort of thing has been going on in Baldwin a lot, because some people don't have the money to buy a piece of land and buy a
Right.
house, and they put a camper on their cousin's property or their mother's property or something. I think we might want to explore the disorderly
Okay.
more, because we gotta take account of people who need to be helped.
I understand that.
I mean, I'm sorry that doesn't help you.
And I realize that, but the other fact is those individuals are having frequent visits by the Cumberland County Sheriff. I have had the FBI at my house, and I have no proof this is because of these camper dwellers, but I know I've lived there 17 years. And in the past 3 years, the dynamics of that road have changed. And the one thing that is painfully obvious is those campers were not there before. There were not individuals in the backyard sleeping in vehicles, partying all hours of the night.
So that's what we should address.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
like that to tie into this disorderly use.
I just, like I said at the selectmen's meeting, I came home, a couple weeks ago to 9 sheriffs with rifles drawn. And this is the 3rd time I have seen this happen at this residence. I am tired of it. I want to fix it correctly, but I need to look out for the best interest of my family. That's,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
and everyone else on the road.
No, but your family comes first. There's no question.
So I understand there are rules in place. I understand people suffer financially, okay? But I do not think that every tax-paying resident on the road should have to deal with that year after year because someone possibly has a very large heart or is enabling some type of behavior. And like I said, a lot of this is hearsay, but I know over the past 3 years, my family's scared to go outside, and I'm not okay with that.
So we should address this in this ordinance that Matt is helping out with.
Right.
Matt and Bob are helping with. That's directly addressing the problem.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's what we should do, and I'm 100% for that.
Yeah.
And we post our agendas in advance, so if we're gonna be working on the disorderly ordinance, it'll be on our agenda and you can pop in that evening and give
Perfect.
input.
Yeah.
We should just make sure that we itemize that as an issue, and then you'll have notice that we're gonna be discussing it.
And what about the other individuals on the road that are also concerned, that might not be, so forthcoming and willing to step forward?
So our meetings are always recorded and you can watch them online, and
Yeah.
people can communicate with us in
Okay,
various ways.
yeah,
But they can participate, they can watch our meetings through the video after the fact, once they're posted, so people can see what we discussed here.
Yeah.
But
If you could write
if
it
people
down
don't feel
for you.
comfortable,
Don't put it down over the,
yeah,
Peter, will you write down your contact information for me, your name and phone number and email, and then, I'll work to keep you apprised of our progress, on this,
Yeah.
okay?
but you'll write that down.
Yeah, we don't want.
and that was our chat just now.
We
Yeah,
don't
we're not
wanna-
gonna,
Ask it so that it's.
Correct.
Yeah,
that is,
That's all.
that's
So
why you'll
I
just
asked
give
him
it
for
to us.
written down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our meetings have to be open to the public.
I gave a visit, and I emailed back and said,
Gentlemen with the beard.
they don't be here a week.
That
I'm gonna back again last week.
So we just have to alternate. Correct.
Threw the wheel in the back.
Reappoint him.
Around it, blocked the windows.
Have him reappointed.
There's something so full of crap in there.
So he has to just have to have him reappointed.
Yeah.
Okay.
If he's
One,
so
two,
willing.
okay. But he's not here for other business. That means-
So see the other neighbors on the
What
other
I'm
side.
objecting to here is
Go give them a
that
visit.
we would indicate what activities require a permit. I hate writing a permit for somebody, because then they can come back and if there's a problem,
messed
it's
it
our
up.
fault.
I agree with that.
It's no hiding.
Oh, yeah.
Cumberland County Sheriff Law. I got
Do you have any other questions for us right now? Melissa?
I am tired.
Any other questions for us right now?
What did
We're wrapping up.
No, it was,
Is there anything
a
else?
domestic situation, where a woman was basically choked to death.
You mean what other obstacles might you find? Well, you have to have it voted on affirmatively,
And
and then it's an approved use for non-conforming lots, and then you don't need an actual conditional use permit. You'd be allowed
and I
to
understand you have a job to
kennels,
do.
correct?
I'm sorry,
If Melissa is successful in her
And like I
petition,
said,
the town
I'm not
votes to
okay.
add kennels to a non-conforming use lot, or non-conforming lot use, approved use. She
Yep.
doesn't need a
And I've
conditional
given
use
you
permit, she
information
can
from the sheriff
proceed with
about
the
it
kennel.
in the past.
I think that what,
So, you need more
If
this is
information.
one of those things those legal people dreamed
Yeah,
up.
so
If-
I'll
if-
confirm that for you,
if-
but
It becomes a permitted use,
Yeah,
Yeah.
in your backyard.
I wanna look at this again to see how
Okay.
to do it.
you're gonna meet with
not
Joe
okay
and get
with
any
anything.
clarity.
Okay,
Yeah, I think,
But permits change from that.
I got enough going on in my mind,
yeah.
you know, there's a 10-ring circus going
I'm
on
here to
right
start
now.
trouble. I'm
I
here to
can't-
make my neighborhood safe.
I can't do it.
Go ahead. Can we get the,
Written
selectmen
notification.
to ask you to re-up as alternate?
So there's no confusion.
We're just talking about.
You able to?
He just asked me.
Oh, good. Cause
Hi,
I wanted to let you know, I don't know how you feel about it, but we have a brand new planning board tattoo.
Where do I get it?
So, Wes, if I could say something about this letter,
Sure.
at the bottom of the first page,
Are we officially adjourned?
you're asking for what activities
We
require
are
a permit?
officially adjourned.
That we would
That was just
indicate
adding
what
in last
activities
time.
require a permit?
Thank